Beneath the charm and scandal lay a man of complexity, vulnerability, and surprising depth. It's this combination of heroism, trouble, and raw charisma that made Errol Flynn irresistible. He wasn't just a movie star, he was an icon who left an indelible mark on Hollywood history, and in the hearts of women everywhere. The legend of Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn wasn't just a star, he was the star of Hollywood's golden age, the ultimate heartthrob who seemed to step right out of an adventure novel. With his devilish good looks, effortless charm, and a knack for playing swashbuckling heroes, Flynn became the face of dashing adventure films and romantic escapades. Whether he was swinging from ropes as Robin Hood or flashing his signature grin as a roguish pirate, he captivated audiences, and especially women, like no one else could. But Flynn's appeal wasn't limited to what happened on screen. Off-screen, his life was just as dramatic as any movie he starred in. Known for his undeniable magnetism, larger-than-life personality, and penchant for controversy, Flynn became a legend not just for his roles but for the stories that surrounded him. Women were drawn to his adventurous spirit, his rebellious streak, and the undeniable sense that he was living life to its absolute fullest. Rules be damned. Beneath the charm and scandal lay a man of complexity, vulnerability, and surprising depth. It's this combination of heroism, trouble, and raw charisma that made Errol Flynn irresistible. He wasn't just a movie star. He was an icon who left an indelible mark on Hollywood history and in the hearts of women everywhere. But let's go deeper into all of his fine and attractive qualities, the things women saw that got them swooning. His undeniable appeal. When Errol Flynn swung onto the silver screen in Captain Blood, 1935, he wasn't just playing a dashing pirate, he became the embodiment of swashbuckling adventure. Women didn't just watch him, they fell for him, head over heels, enchanted by his fearless charisma and undeniable charm. Flynn wasn't merely acting, he brought a raw, almost magical energy to his roles that left audiences breathless. In Captain Blood, he played Dr. Peter Blood, a wrongly accused man turned pirate with a mix of sharp wit and daring action. Flynn's commanding presence made you believe he really could captain a ship, duel with enemies, and sweep a woman off her feet, all while keeping a devilish smirk on his face. His performance transformed him from a relatively unknown actor into a Hollywood superstar virtually overnight. Then came The Adventures of Robin Hood, 1938. And if women weren't already swooning, this sealed the deal. As Robin Hood, Flynn was cheeky, bold, and heroic, swinging from vines, battling the Sheriff of Nottingham, and stealing kisses, along with gold. There was something magnetic about the way he handled himself. Every sword fight, every defiant grin, every stolen glance with Maid Marian was pure magic. He wasn't just playing a hero, he was the hero, and that's what made him so irresistible. Flynn's on-screen persona wasn't just about looking good in tights, although let's face it, that didn't hurt. It was his unshakable confidence, his athletic grace, and his fearless approach to every challenge. Women saw him as the ultimate romantic fantasy, a man who could save the day, charm a room, and still find time to make you laugh. But it wasn't just his bravery or physical prowess that captivated audiences. It was the way he brought a sense of fun and adventure to his roles. Flynn made danger look exciting and heroism seem effortless. He turned simple acts like drawing a sword or flashing a smile into unforgettable moments. For women, watching Flynn wasn't just about the story. It was about escaping into a world where men were bold, romantic, and larger than life. Errol Flynn didn't just play swashbuckling heroes, he defined them. His confidence, athleticism, and undeniable charm captured imaginations and hearts alike, making him a cinematic icon whose appeal still endures. His incredible charisma. Let's be real, Errol Flynn wasn't just handsome, he was downright jaw-dropping. The kind of man who could walk into a room and suddenly everyone else disappeared. Women couldn't help but be drawn to his striking good looks, the piercing, mischievous eyes that seemed to see right through you, the razor-sharp jawline that belonged on a marble statue, and the tousled hair that looked like it had just been perfectly disheveled by an ocean breeze. Flynn didn't just look good, he looked dangerously good. But it wasn't just about his face. Flynn had the kind of physique that screamed adventure. He was tall, lean, and athletic, with the grace of a dancer and the strength of an athlete. Whether he was swinging from ropes, fencing with foes, or striding through a scene in one of his iconic costumes, he moved with an effortless confidence that left women swooning. He carried himself like a man who was always ready for action and always ready to sweep you off your feet. And then there was that smile. It was equal parts devilish and boyish, as if he knew he was up to no good but also knew you'd forgive him anyway. It wasn't just a smile, it was a promise of excitement, romance, and maybe a little trouble. Flynn didn't need to say much, his looks did the talking. What made Flynn even more irresistible was how natural it all seemed. He didn't come across as someone trying too hard to be charming or attractive. It was just who he was. That unpolished, rugged energy made him stand out from the polished perfection of other leading men. He wasn't the guy who'd sit at a fancy dinner party talking about his investments. He was the guy who'd whisk you away to a moonlit beach, sword in hand, ready to fight off pirates just because it sounded fun. For women, Flynn's physical charisma wasn't just about aesthetics, it was the total package. He wasn't just a pretty face, he was a presence. A man who seemed larger than life yet somehow approachable. Someone who made you believe in the possibility of grand adventures and sweeping romances. Flynn had a way of making women feel like they were part of the story, not just watching it, and that's why his allure has stood the test of time. The typical bad boy. If Errol Flynn's devilish good looks weren't enough to capture hearts, his reputation as a rebel sealed the deal. He wasn't just the charming hero on screen, off-screen, he was a full-blown bad boy and women couldn't get enough of it. There was something magnetic about his unpredictable, wild nature. Flynn didn't follow the rules, and that made him all the more irresistible. He was Hollywood's original wild child, living a life that felt like an extension of his swashbuckling roles. Whether he was sailing his yacht, the Zaka, to exotic locations, or throwing extravagant parties that were the talk of Tinseltown, Flynn's life seemed like one grand adventure. He was the kind of man who made even the mundane exciting. And women couldn't help but be drawn to his thrill-seeking, larger-than-life personality. Flynn's love for danger extended beyond his movie roles. He wasn't afraid to take risks, whether that meant traveling to far-off places, living life on his terms, or engaging in scandalous romances. He lived fast and unapologetically, and that devil-may-care attitude was intoxicating. Women loved the idea of taming the untamable, a man who was as thrilling as he was enigmatic. Of course, his rebellious streak came with its fair share of controversies. The infamous "In Like Flynn" scandal, a trial for statutory rape, threatened to derail his career in the early 1940s. But even then, Flynn's bad boy mystique somehow emerged unscathed. The trial only seemed to add to his legend. He wasn't just a Hollywood star, he was a man who lived dangerously close to the edge, and for many women that made him all the more fascinating. And let's not forget his romantic escapades. Flynn was notorious for his affairs, many of them with Hollywood's leading ladies. He had an undeniable way of making women feel like they were the only one in the room, even if they knew they weren't the only one in his life. His ability to charm anyone, anywhere, anytime, made him the ultimate ladies' man. For women, Flynn's bad boy image was thrilling. He was unpredictable, exciting, and a little dangerous, the kind of man who kept you guessing and left you wanting more. It wasn't just his looks or talent that made him irresistible. It was his ability to make every moment feel like an adventure. Flynn wasn't just a heartthrob, he was a legend, and his rebellious spirit is part of what made women fall head over heels for him. He's charming and witty. If Errol Flynn's good looks and bad boy edge weren't enough to win women over, his charm and wit sealed the deal. Flynn wasn't just handsome and daring, he was irresistibly charming. He had a way with words that could turn any conversation into a playful game and a sense of humor that made him the life of every party. Flynn had a sharp, mischievous wit that kept everyone around him on their toes. He didn't take himself too seriously, which made him incredibly approachable despite his larger-than-life persona. Whether it was on a film set or at one of his legendary parties, Flynn had a knack for making everyone feel like they were part of the fun. Women loved his ability to make them laugh and feel special, even in a crowded room. He was a storyteller at heart. Flynn could spin tales about his adventures, both real and exaggerated, with the kind of flair that made people hang on his every word. Whether recounting his escapades at sea, his time in distant lands, or the hilariously chaotic moments of his life, he had a way of drawing people in. For women, this made him even more alluring. He wasn't just a man, he was an experience, someone who could make the ordinary seem extraordinary. Flynn's charm wasn't just about being funny or entertaining, it was about the way he made people feel. He had an uncanny ability to connect, to make every woman he spoke to feel like she was the center of his universe. Even if it was fleeting, Flynn had a way of creating moments that felt magical and unforgettable. Off-screen, Flynn's charm extended to his relationships. While he was notorious for his romantic entanglements, many women described him as surprisingly attentive and thoughtful. He had a way of balancing his larger-than-life persona with moments of genuine connection. For all his flaws, and there were plenty, Flynn knew how to make women feel seen and appreciated. His charm also translated effortlessly to the screen. Flynn wasn't just acting when he played the dashing hero. He brought his natural charisma into every role. Women couldn't help but fall for his confident smirks, his twinkling eyes, and the way he made even the corniest lines sound like poetry. In the end, it was Flynn's charm and wit that truly set him apart. He wasn't just a pretty face or a daring adventurer, he was someone who could make you laugh, make you think, and make you feel like you were part of his extraordinary world. And for women, that combination was absolutely irresistible. His adventurous spirit. Errol Flynn wasn't just a Hollywood heartthrob, he was a man of the world. And his adventurous spirit was another reason women couldn't get enough of him. He wasn't content with simply being a star on the silver screen. Flynn's life off-screen was just as epic and dramatic as his swashbuckling roles. Born in Tasmania, Flynn's early life read like the opening chapters of a grand novel. Before Hollywood came calling, he sailed the seas, searched for gold in New Guinea, and even dabbled in real-life escapades that felt straight out of a pirate movie. He was the kind of man who seemed to thrive on adventure, and that energy followed him wherever he went. For women, Flynn's exotic background and globe-trotting lifestyle were endlessly intriguing. He wasn't just a movie star, he was a mystery, a man who had lived a dozen lives before ever stepping onto a Hollywood set. The stories of his travels, whether they were entirely true or embellished for effect, made him even more irresistible. Who wouldn't want to be swept up in the excitement of a man who had sailed to uncharted islands and danced with danger? His love for adventure wasn't just a thing of the past either. Flynn carried that same zest for exploration into his Hollywood years. When he wasn't filming, he was often on his yacht, the Zaka, exploring the world's oceans. Women were drawn to the romantic idea of a man who could whisk them away to far-off lands, promising experiences that were anything but ordinary. Even in Hollywood, Flynn's adventurous nature set him apart. While many stars enjoyed the comforts of fame, Flynn was the one out chasing thrills. He brought that same energy to his roles, infusing every sword fight, chase scene, and daring rescue with a sense of authenticity. Audiences, and women especially, couldn't help but believe that Flynn wasn't just playing a hero, he was one. There was something undeniably magnetic about Flynn's adventurous spirit. It suggested freedom, excitement, and a life lived without limits. For women, it wasn't just about the man himself, it was about the dream of being part of his thrilling, unpredictable world. Flynn didn't just offer love, he offered a passport to adventure, and that was a promise too tantalizing to resist. His ladies' man reputation. Errol Flynn's on-screen romance wasn't just reserved for the big screen, it spilled over into his real life, making him one of Hollywood's most notorious ladies' men. His reputation as a heartbreaker was as much a part of his legacy as his swashbuckling roles. Women swooned over him in theaters, but it was his real-life escapades that solidified his status as a romantic enigma. Flynn was infamous for his high-profile relationships with Hollywood's leading ladies. Actresses like Olivia de Havilland, who starred alongside him in several films, were rumored to have fallen for his charm, though de Havilland herself denied it publicly. Still, their on-screen chemistry was electric, and audiences couldn't help but speculate. Flynn's list of lovers reportedly included heiresses, co-stars, and countless admirers who found themselves drawn into his orbit. But it wasn't just the relationships that built his legend, it was the way he carried himself. Flynn exuded confidence and flirtation, making every woman feel like they were the only one in the room. He was charming, attentive, and unapologetically himself. It was a combination that made him irresistible to many, even as it caused plenty of heartbreak along the way. Then came the scandals that cemented his bad boy mystique. The most infamous was the Like Flynn trial in 1943, where Flynn faced accusations of statutory rape. The trial was a media circus, splashing his name across headlines and adding a layer of controversy to his already colorful reputation. While he was ultimately acquitted, the phrase "like Flynn" became synonymous with his ability to navigate scandal and still come out on top. The trial didn't just tarnish his image, it also added a layer of complexity to it. For some, the scandal made him a pariah. For others, it added an air of danger that only heightened his allure. Flynn seemed untouchable, a man who could face public scrutiny and remain unfazed. Women who adored him saw not just the swashbuckling hero, but a man who lived life unapologetically, no matter the cost. His off-screen romances and scandals gave Flynn a duality that was hard to ignore. On one hand, he was the ultimate romantic lead, dashing, confident, and full of passion. On the other, he was a deeply flawed man whose personal life was rife with chaos and controversy. Yet this very mix of charm and scandal only deepened his mystique. Flynn's reputation as a ladies' man wasn't just about the women he loved. It was about how he embodied romance, adventure, and danger all at once. He lived larger than life, both on and off the screen, and that, perhaps more than anything, is why women couldn't get enough of him. And he was intellectual. Beneath Errol Flynn's swashbuckling persona and roguish charm was a surprising side that often left people in awe: his intellect. Known for his adventurous spirit and bad boy reputation, Flynn wasn't someone people typically associated with a love for books, art, and philosophy. But those who knew him more intimately quickly realized there was much more to him than met the eye. Flynn was an avid reader with an insatiable curiosity about the world. He devoured literature, from classic novels to historical works, and had a particular fondness for philosophy. He would often engage in deep, meaningful conversations about life, art, and the human condition, topics that seemed at odds with his daredevil, larger-than-life public image. His love for art was equally profound. Flynn was captivated by beauty in all its forms, whether it was a perfectly shot scene in a movie, a moving piece of music, or the brushstrokes of a master painter. He saw the world through a lens that appreciated nuance and detail, which added a layer of complexity to his character. For many women, this intellectual side of Flynn was magnetic. It was as if he offered two worlds in one. On the surface, he was the daring, rugged adventurer who could sweep you off your feet. But once you got to know him, you discovered a man with a mind as fascinating as his physical presence. His love of learning and his ability to articulate profound thoughts drew women to him in a way that was entirely different from his on-screen allure. This complexity added depth to Flynn's charm. Women who might have been attracted to his confidence and good looks found themselves even more enchanted by his ability to discuss Plato or recite Shakespeare. He was the kind of man who could lead a sword fight on screen and then spend the evening pondering existential questions over a glass of wine. Flynn's intellectual pursuits weren't just a pastime. They were part of what made him unique. While many dismissed him as a pretty face or a wild playboy, those who truly knew him understood that his mind was just as captivating as his dashing exterior. This blend of physicality and intellect made Errol Flynn an enigma. He wasn't just the hero who saved the day on screen or the scandalous lover off screen. He was also the thinker who could see the world in ways few others could. For women who craved complexity, Flynn offered the whole package, and that made him unforgettable. Errol Flynn, Flawed Hero. For all his bravado, Errol Flynn was no stranger to hardship, and it was this vulnerability that added an unexpected layer of allure to his already magnetic persona. Beneath the swashbuckling hero and the Hollywood bad boy was a man grappling with personal struggles that made him more relatable and, in many ways, more appealing to women. Flynn's life wasn't all glitter and adventure. Financial troubles plagued him throughout his career, a stark contrast to the lavish lifestyle he was known for. Despite earning astronomical sums during his peak, his reckless spending, legal battles, and poor financial management often left him in dire straits. To the public, he was the man who could conquer anything on screen. But behind the scenes, he was fighting battles he couldn't always win. Then there were his health issues. Flynn's rugged exterior masked a body worn down by years of excess. By his 40s, he was already dealing with chronic pain, heart problems, and the consequences of his hedonistic lifestyle. This fragility, coupled with his refusal to let it define him, painted a picture of a man who was both strong and vulnerable, a combination that many women found deeply compelling. Women were drawn to this flawed hero side of Flynn because it made him real. Here was a man who seemed untouchable, larger than life, yet he faced struggles that grounded him in a way his roles never could. His imperfections didn't detract from his charm, they enhanced it. They made him accessible, someone who wasn't just an icon, but a human being with fears, failures, and moments of weakness. This vulnerability also fueled the romantic fantasy. Women saw him not just as the dashing Robin Hood or Captain Blood, but as a man who needed understanding and love, a man who could be saved. Flynn's flaws didn't tarnish his image. They deepened it, creating a sense of mystery and longing. To many, he wasn't just a hero. He was a project, someone who could be healed by the right person. His struggles also added layers to his on-screen performances. There was an underlying sadness in his later roles, a kind of weariness that hinted at the real-life pain behind the facade. Women recognized that, and it made him even more captivating. Flynn wasn't just pretending to be a complex character. He was one. In the end, it was this mix of strength and vulnerability that made Errol Flynn irresistible. He wasn't perfect, and he didn't pretend to be. But his ability to face life's challenges, even when they got the better of him, made him all the more intriguing. Women loved him not just for his charm and good looks, but for the humanity he couldn't hide.